Yes, people, welcome to the Manchester United versus Chelsea preview. And as we know, Manchester United has to win this game. Both teams, actually. It's as much pressure as it is for Amorim as it is on Maresca. Now, in different ways. Amorim needs to win because his job is on the line, but Maresca needs to win because Chelsea doesn't have a good run of form. And you know at that club, if as a manager you go 6, 8, 10 games without a good run of form, you're probably in some trouble. Now, Manchester United is in a very crazy predicament at the moment. You have the manager's job being under fire. You have the owners flying in for meetings. You have board meetings all over. You have the news consistently talking about his replacements. And that applies a lot of pressure to the manager, no doubt. There is no one that can tell me that Amorim isn't under pressure, because you can even see it in the way the man look at the moment. He's gotten so much older. He's even the way he answers the media now, every time it seems like he's being a lot on the offense. He's being aggressive. He has to be defending himself. And I to get it. Like, what, every time you go into a press conference, you're getting asked the same questions. Garnacho, Rashford, Højlund. You're getting asked about your system, the players, and every time you have to be saying, oh, we're creating these amounts of chances. We're better than last season. But you are the one that created this for yourself. You know, when you came into the club, yes, I knew you wanted to change a lot of things, but he should have not made such massive changes so quick, because you have to realize he put himself under pressure. This isn't Sporting, this isn't Benfica, this isn't Casapia. You know, these aren't the clubs where we only hear about them one time for the year during the Champions League if they so happen to have a big performance or they play against a big team. And even when they play against a big team, no one really cares. The only reason why people was watching Sporting versus Man City, it wasn't because Amorim, it wasn't because Sporting, it wasn't because of Victor Gyökeres or players there. It was because he was being rumoured to Manchester United. It had nothing else to do with the ability of the team, how well they played, nothing. And he's been on and on and on and on about it, Rúben Amorim, about Sporting, and when they played City, they were actually not as good as when United played City. And I get that. Sometimes you play games, you're awful, you win. Sometimes you play, you're really good, and you lose. It's life. Sometimes you work really hard at something, you fail. Sometimes you don't work at it, and it's handed right to you in your hand. You know, but at the end of the day, you can't not work hard for it, because when that opportunity comes and arises itself again, you may just fail. That's why proper preparation prevents poor performance. And that, for me, I think Amorim is trying to get to that, where he's trying to make sure he prepares the team in a way where the performance levels rises in terms of the quality, and the mistake level drops. And that's why I feel like he hasn't really tweaked his system either, because if he goes to tweak his system now, in a time when everyone's applying pressure on him, it just shows that he doesn't believe in himself. And that would be the same mistake Ten Hag made, he would be making. Because Ten Hag came, last 4 games, deserted the Ajax way of playing. Let's not forget, he was brought in to play a certain way of football, and he went as far as possible from that just because he lost a few games. Now, could that have been that he realized United is a massive juggernaut? He realized it's a massive club, a massive brand. So he's like, hey, maybe I need to not lose so many games while I'm here. But the difference is, he came in during a new season, straight from the summer. Amorim came in during a season. So for me, I don't think Amorim should be in a predicament like this now. Not saying that it can't improve, but he shouldn't be in a situation where he is now, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Especially for the fact that he's had a whole season to figure it out. Then he's had a preseason and he's making somewhat the same mistakes. I don't really get it now. Is he the one making the mistakes? Sometimes I can see it in the games, but also I can see the players also not up for it sometimes. And that could be mentality. That could be their lack of physicality to be able to do what the manager asks. That could also be them not being able to, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe they just can't think the way the manager wants them to think. Maybe their IQ level isn't as high. Maybe they're not as determined. But losing against Man City really opened up a lot of our eyes to some things. One, the lack of depth that we have in terms of going forward with the same type of quality. Now, if a Matthias Cunha is out, we don't really have a player like that. We have a Mason Mount who brings another sort of dynamic, but is not the same type of player. Now, there's pros and cons to having the same prototype of player, and there's pros and cons to having a different player. Now, having a different one, we know, obviously, brings another dynamic, brings another way of playing the game, brings another way of evolving within that time or situation. Whereas now it affects the team, because now the team doesn't have that same player in that position where it uses a guy like a Cunha who likes to take the ball and drive, who likes to run in behind spaces. Whereas now you have a Mason Mount who like to come to feet, who like to be an extra midfielder, who like to create a compactness within the midfield and the attack. Who's looking to play the final pass and not be the one on the end of the shot. Whereas Cunha wants to be on the end of the shot. Cunha wants to be on the end of the dribble. Cunha wants to be on the end of the link-up. So there's just a few things about the certain players that sometimes the profile as well is very important. Why I think Manchester United also struggled losing a player like Cunha against a City. Where you have a player that can stretch the team, take the ball, release the pressure. We never really had a player like that. Brian Mbeumo can do that. But he's never been that player. He's always the one on the end of the finish article, on the one finishing the goal, creating the goal. He's that Mo Salah type player. They don't really need to be too much in the build-up. They just need to be the guy you release in transition, and they can do a lot of damage for you. Now, Rúben Amorim was talking about his tactics, and of course we have to share a little video about Amorim, and this is what he had to say about the situation, really and truly.
You said when you want to change your way, you will change. You're open to that. Do you want to change now? Is that on your mind? Did that come up with Sir Jim in your meeting with your system?
No. No one's not.
First of all, right, look at that man's face a while ago when he looked at the report. He's like, be careful what you ask me. Hey, Amorim, boy,
not even the Pope. Something got. It will not. This is my job. This is my responsibility. This is my life. So I will not change that. But I will change. I will change the system. There will be an evolution. But we need to make all the good steps. And to tell him, if I'm a player and I have a coach that with a lot of pressure, it doesn't matter if he's all around the world, is saying you need to change the system, and I'm going to change in this moment. They will look at me in a different way. So everything, when you think about the impact that any decision is going to have in the team, everything is important. So I will.
Yo, when I tell you, the definition of I don't give a fuck, this is what it is right here. When you're looking for the epitome of I don't give a fuck, it's Rúben Amorim. The guy. This guy, I've been telling y'all this. Please stop telling this man to change the way he plays. This man will not ever change the way he plays. He's not that guy. In terms of you can't tell him to do nothing. He makes changes when he wants. He does when he wants, because he understands if he starts to change when the media says something, it will creep down into the team. Ten Hag didn't learn from that. And he's looking at all these previous managers at United, and he's learning from them. And this is why I have to respect him. Now, Maresca had a lot of strong words, not only to say of Rúben Amorim, but he had a lot to say about Manchester United and what he thought about the team. And he was talking about Alejandro Garnacho, and he's ready, but who cares about Garnacho? Garnacho is a young player who was at Manchester United, who has a lot of quality, no doubt. He's a really good player. And at the end of the day, when people are trying to talk like Garnacho was so bad, let's not forget, people, Garnacho is only 21 years old with so many caps for Manchester United. And let's not forget, in some of those games, he was actually the main man. He was good enough to actually help United in certain games to be able to be called that player. You're not just a young player with no experience, with no sort of impact on your team, and people talk about you this way. Because why isn't Toby Collier being talked about that way? Why is Ahmad only being talked about like that? When Ahmad and Garnacho was at the same team, Garnacho was even a bigger star than Ahmad at United. So let's just look at it and call it out for what it is. There's nothing wrong with him being a really good player. And at the end of the day, people have to also realize, when you're at the top 6, 8 clubs in England, in Europe, wherever you are, no matter if they're as successful as they used to be or they are now, there's no one going there that isn't of high quality. Those teams aren't going to scout the worst player in Colombia, the worst player in Africa, the worst player in Brazil, the worst player in Uruguay, the worst player in Ghana, Cameroon. You know, they're not. They're going to find the best quality, best player. So a lot of these times, when people talk about, oh, this player isn't good enough, they're actually probably way better than a lot of the players at the bottom leagues. But the problem is, they just can't play under the pressure of playing for such a big club. You know how many players there are that just can't play under pressure? Sometimes you have players that are really good in training, and in the game they look a shadow of themselves. That is the mentality of that player. You know, I used to struggle with that as a young player. I used to be scared to get the ball to my feet. I used to be like, because we weren't trained that way where I'm from. So we were taught about clearing the ball, getting behind the ball, tackling strong, covering the space, you know, playing in defensive shape. Because most times when you're growing up in a country where you're always, your national team especially at that level, always fighting to play against teams that are better than them, usually the structure of the association, the technicality of that team, that level, it shows, because a lot of times you're training to defend, to play in a low block. Now you go to, like me, universities, you go to play semi-pro, pro in America, in Australia, all these countries. You start to be around a lot of players of high quality who want to play with the ball. Bro, it affects you. You're either going to develop to get to their standard, or you're never going to get to their standard. And that's what you have to do in order to take that next step. That is when your back's against the wall, what the fuck are you going to do? Are you going to work hard to evolve, or are you going to sit back and cry that you never made it? Now let's look into the lineups, because I know that's what y'all really want me to talk about. So here we have Chelsea lineup. I have Chalobah and Tosin with Sanchez in the triangular 3 at the back. Now the reason why I picked these two players, I think defensively, both of these players for Maresca has been his go-to guys. And I mean, Levi Colwell probably would have gotten into this, but based on what they've been doing all season, I think this is the team that he will go with for his centre-backs. Now, Cucurella and James at the left and right back for 2 different reasons. Both can invert, both can overlap, both can exvert. So, both can also create dynamics of a lot of crosses in the box, coming into the middle to load up the midfield. Also, they can create an overload inside of the middle, where United wants to create an overload as well and play one-on-one and battle it out. So these two left back and right backs, for me, allows Maresca to create a different dynamic that gives Manchester United a bit of problem. Now, if they get to do that, that means they create a back 3 with a solid base, which now allows them to send Enzo forward a bit more, Caicedo to hold and create that solidity and flash across to help the centre backs and the left and right back. And then you have Buonanotte, for me, who's going to start. For this also reason, they're going to try to overload the midfield. A lot of teams, when they play United, going to try to overload the midfield, because they think United having a 2 is the best way to do that. But a lot of times when teams actually overload the midfield, they allow the space for Mbeumo Cunha to have in behind. And that's why United has been so dangerous in the transition. And that's why those 2 players are so key to the way we play. That's why against Arsenal, we look so good in the transition. That's why against Fulham, we look so good in the transition. Because we had players that could move around the pitch and create those moments for those transitions. Now, Cole Palmer, of course, and Neto will start for Chelsea. I think they are his favourable wingers. I don't think because of the emotion of the game, I don't think Garnacho gets the calls up. But I think he gets an early call into the game, like after a 55-minute, a 50-minute. I think he goes on and play maybe for Neto, maybe for Bueno Note. Now, who knows? You can also see a point where he plays Cole Palmer next to João Pedro, plays a Pedro Neto on the right side, and starts Alejandro Garnacho because he has something to prove. And somewhat, knowing the kind of person Maresca is, I can see this happening. Now, if a Delap was there, I definitely could see that Neto on the right, Palmer in behind, Delap up front, and Pedro coming off of the left side. So there is a few things that can happen that Chelsea could do, but I just think this is going to be their starting team. Now let's look at the boys, them starting team, right? Let's look at the boys that we nearly need to understand what they're going to do today. Lamans, Mazuai, De Ligt, and Shaw for me at the back. Now, I was tussling up between a Maguire and a De Ligt because for me, I think Maguire needs a game just to show again the quality that he has on the ball. How much when we're on the ball, we can split the lines with Maguire. But De Ligt also brings the covering of space, the grit, the fight, the challenging, the intensity to be able to play on the high press in the one-on-one. And that's what also a Lenny Euro brings with the De Ligt, which is why for me, I think that De Ligt gets the call but not Euro. Now why I think Maz gets the call over Euro is for the quality on the ball. I find Euro's performances over the last 2 games has dropped a little bit. The quality isn't as high as it was the starting of the season, which is fine. You know, he's a young kid. He's had 5-6 games pre-season into the season, really good. You know, now he can maybe take a rest, playing for France under 21. Maybe he just needs a little break to breathe. So I think Maz comes in and fits in perfectly fine. Now on the one-on-one, Maz is excellent. On the cover, Maz is excellent. Getting involved in the play as progressing the ball to Ahmad, progressing the ball to Casemiro, progressively playing the ball forward. Knows Mazurai is a lot better than Euro. And those are the small things I think Euro can improve in his game that will help him. Now Lamans, I think, will get his debut in this game. For a couple reasons. Based on what I saw in the game against City, United still struggling a bit with that aerial presence of their goalkeeper commanding the area. And I think that is very important just to settle down the team sometimes. You know, you saw Donnarumma come out and make some big punches. Even the ball didn't go too far. Just the fact he came out, punched the ball, you saw the team feel released. Okay, our goalkeeper's strong. Our goalkeeper's coming to get this. And now, gradually as the game went on, they created spaces for him to come get the ball. So you have to earn the right to play, just like you have to earn the right to command your area, earn the right to be respected as a teammate, to not have to always be there to kind of pamper you and protect you from the limelight. Luke Shaw's performance was pretty poor against Man City, but I think why he will start again is because we don't have a natural left footer. And Rúben Amorim likes that angle. Now, when Euro plays in that side, no problem. But it shuts down the angle sometimes of us going forward and releasing pressure. And at the moment, we can't afford to consistently put our players in areas where they're not comfortable. Now, Euro is comfortable over there. He can play over there. But I think against Chelsea, they will find a way to press him using his right foot on the left side and forcing him to go backwards, which is what we don't want against a team like Chelsea. We want to progressively be splitting the lines and getting at their wing backs. Because Reece James and Cucurella, they like pushing forward or into the middle, so there's always spaces out wide for the transition to happen. And that's why players like Shaw, Noose, and so they can also utilize those space by driving forward, using their natural left back and right back attributes to use that space and drive to that space to create an overload. Now Bruno and Casemiro will start in the midfield. I don't see a place where Kobe Mainoo starts in this team yet. I think as his performances keep improving, as he keeps being challenged and as he keeps working hard to becoming a top player, I think he will gradually work Casemiro out of this team. Before the end of the season, I'll tell you this. We're either going to see a new midfielder with Bruno Fernandes, which enables Manu to come on and play a bit more, and now you can take Fernandes out or put him higher sometimes. Or we're going to see a point where Manu and Bruno starts a lot more games because Manu has improved and worked off a Ugarte and a Casemiro. People, Dogu and Ahmad now, really good. I think if Dallo was fit, he would have started over Dogu. Ahmad for sure needs to play a bit more just on the right wing back to continuously start to understand his link up with Mbeumo and understand the role a bit more. Now I hate this thing all the time, people talking about formation tactics, but when you're a right wing back, okay, playing as a right winger naturally, playing at a right wing back, he's already automatically marking the other team's left back if they're playing in a 4 in the back. And not only that, but now he's also able to pick up the ball in areas where he's already attacking the space on the half turn in positions where, yeah, it might be a little step, maybe 4 to 5 yards deeper than a winger, but that's just a deep line winger. You know, a lot of y'all talk about playing FIFA. That's the difference between a left midfielder and a left winger, or a right midfielder and a right winger. Now, there's just a few yards in between that. Just like when you have a right wing back and a right midfielder, usually the positions they pick up are similar because that right midfielder is dropping into the midfield. And the Manchester United does play at a 3-4-3. So if we really think about it, it's not a right wing back and a left wing back. It's actually a left midfielder and a right midfielder. So sometimes it's just the media try to persuade these things, and it's just small logic and small, we call it football education. We call it the football language. You know, like how everything have a language, football has its own language, but people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people just say things and think, you know. If you start telling them, start to just say, hey, play at the 1, play at the 6, play at the 8, play at the 10, play at the 9, play at the 11. A lot of people that watch football only know that now because they realize the numbers a lot of players get are based on the positions that they play. So when somebody's wearing a number 9, you know that's a striker. When somebody's wearing a number 10, you know that's a central attacking midfielder. When somebody says 7, 11, you know that's a winger. So there's just small things within the game and within the language, within football language, that a lot of people don't know, but it exists. It's actually a language. Now, Mbeumo, Cunha, Sesko to start up front. I think Cunha, we need to get this front line, you know, operating, playing with each other. And the fact that Cunha was injured, Mbeumo and Sesko had one game with each other against City. Now, I think Cunha coming back into the team, we need to see these three playing together. The reason why we bought them was to play them together, was to get them playing together and operating together. So, Cunha in this game, Cunha, Mount, these players coming in playing with Benji is going to change the way not only he plays, but the way the team plays. Now you have players that are willing to run in behind, the work ethic, the link up. You know, you have Cunha bringing the ball to these two goal scorers. You have Bruno facilitating, you know, getting on the ball in a deeper space and being able to see the game. Now he can spray passes to Ama, Dogu, Mbeumo, Seska, Cunha. So it's working, and I think people just need to give it time. People just need to give this a little bit of time. Now, my prediction, what do I think is going to happen? I think United's going to win this game, either 2-1 or 3-1. I don't see a place where United don't win this game. And it might be crazy, I've said this many times, but the performances have been there. But the results just haven't been there. But I think this is the game where it all clicks. I think having a Cunha come back, I think a Sesko now second, third game, I think a Mbeumo firing, I think getting players back in their positions might actually help us going forward. I can't wait for Licha Martinez to come back because he will change the way we play so much. We can get Luke Shaw higher up the pitch, so many things. And this game is going to be very exciting. This game is going to have a lot of challenges. It's going to be a lot more intense than Man City because both teams are young, both teams are jovial, both teams really want to win this game, and both teams have a point to prove. Both managers have a point to prove. A lot of creative players have points to prove. Defensively, a lot of defenders want to prove things. So there's a lot of players in this game that have a lot to prove, and they're going to try to prove it. We have the world champions playing against the biggest club in the world, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, one of them have to win, one have to lose, or it may be a draw. But I'm thinking Manchester United definitely going to win this game. I just don't see a way in which they don't respond for the manager. And he needs this. He can't afford to not fucking win this game. He needs to win this game. There's not an if, but, maybe, try, draw, let's try. Nah, you gotta just go, bro. This is a final, win the game. And every game from today needs to be played as a final. Every game needs to seem like it's a final. It's time these players go and attack each game like it's a final. And it's all about the mentality, and the mentality of the club needs to change. It needs to change. It's in a poor place, and it needs to change. But yes, people, thank you so much always for logging in and giving me the great support. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page as usual. Keep hitting the bell for notifications so I can continue bringing you great content going forward. Have a good time. Take care, my people. Ciao.